everyone, and welcome to Katharine's Creatures. This is episode 33, and in this series I get to talk about and discuss various mythological beasts, beings, and the like, pulled from lore and mythologies all around the world. And I always like to preface by saying that I'm not a linguist, so if I butcher a pronunciation, I do apologize in advance. It is not my intent. I do try my best. So today it's kind of like a part two of last week, in a sense. Last week we talked about the Aswang, and that was an umbrella term for a whole grouping of evil entities, creatures, pulled from Filipino folklore. And so today I'm actually going to be talking about one of those in particular, and that one is the Manananggal. And the Manananggal essentially is a vampire-like entity. The difference from most vampires, though, is the Manananggal can separate itself from the torso, split itself in half. So the lower half and the upper half are both alive and doing their own thing. The upper half will sprout wings and take flight and go off to hunt its victims. So really horrifying, just visually. They're often described as obviously very scary, hideous creatures. More often than not, they are female. And when in search of its victims, well, actually I'll pause right there and we'll mention that this one is a little bit of a dark episode, so keep that in mind. Yes, going forward, so just keep that in mind. But the name Manananggal comes from the word tangal, which means to separate. So they are the removers, the separators. They split themselves in half to hunt. And they do have certain types of victims they prefer, including, and here's where it gets a little gross, so be warned, one of their favorite victims are sleeping pregnant women. The upper half will fly, find one, unfurl its proboscis-like tongue, so this very tube, and use it to suck out the hearts of the fetuses. They also use that tongue to suck blood of other victims, including newlyweds, couples in love. They really like to find someone who was a man stood up at the altar. So these poor grooms-to-be, who never ended up getting married, they're usually a preferred victim, prey of the Manananggal. Now, the lower torso of this creature is the weaker part, the more vulnerable part. And if you come across one, how to destroy this monstrosity is to sprinkle either salt, garlic, or ash on top of the lower part of the body. That will kill that lower part, the leg side, and when the upper half comes back to try to reattach, they can't do so. And when the sun rises, they die. So that is a great way to destroy and slay a Manananggal, is find the lower half, take care of that, and the upper half only has a few hours left. Other things that are kind of similar with, that kind of overlap with other creatures in the Aswang category, that are used as deterrents, as ways to fend off against the Manananggal and other Aswang creatures, are daggers, vinegar, bright light, they don't like light, the tail of the stingray, holy water. So all these things can help keep the Manananggal from coming after you. Like I said, this was a pretty cool creature from Filipino folklore. Terrifying. If you look up images of the creature, again, very almost disturbing, but also thoroughly fascinating because very different from other vampire-like creatures in different lore from around the world. If you have any questions for me about this or anything else, please post them in the comments below or message me on social media. And until next time, Skål. Oop, that's not working this time.